Can you hear it? I hear it. That clock is ticking. It's after 11 o'clock. You know what that means. It means it's time for your favorite show and mine, Countdown to Armageddon. And I'm your host, Publius, bringing you the latest, the greatest, and whatever else I come up with. Now, Publius wants to talk to you seriously a moment in a recent article that came out this last week, the French government received an open letter from a bunch of military personnel who predict civil war due to the rise of Islamic terrorism and Muslims within their country. Now, what does this have to do with Publius? Publius says this is a sign of what's coming on. France will probably end up having a civil war. But the big question is who's going to be first. Is France going to beat us to the war, or are we going to beat France this time? Now remember, historically, we went first. So, how about the United States? Are we heading towards civil war? A lot of people say yes, we are. The division in the United States now is actually more extreme than it was during the Civil War. Now, this right there should be scary. The two main sides in our government are so polarized that if one of them said the sky was blue, the other one would argue just to argue. Neither side is willing to know what the word compromise means. And of course, after so many years of the Democrats telling everybody compromise means give us what we want now, and we might consider your requests later. That's not a good thing. We have the potential of a racial war growing in this country as more and more members of the minority community and black community especially are being told how much of a victim they are. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say there is no racism in this country. Yes, there is undoubtedly racism in this country. Will always be racists in this country. But is the country itself a racist country? No, I don't think it is. I think it's gotten worse in the last 20 years. I remember as a kid, it was a lot better than it is now. But things are growing. Things are changing. The dichotomy, the difference between the cities and the rural community is black and white now. They don't even speak the same language anymore, it seems. And granted, the Democrats are doing everything they can to make sure there's no way anybody speaks the same language. So are we heading towards a civil war? More importantly, are you ready for it if we are? Now, I personally believe we are heading towards a civil war. But my question to you is, if we did go to a civil war, are you prepared? I want you to think about this for a second. Because unlike the Civil War in 1860, there will be no front. The front is everywhere. If you are in a major city, you are on the front lines. If you are in a smaller city, you are on the front lines. If you're in a town, different lines. The divisions in this country are so many and have been exploited so heavily by the Democrats and the liberals, the modern-day progressives, that who your enemy is going to be a good question. Is it going to be that person down the road? Maybe. Is it the person right next to you? Maybe. Are you prepared? How do you prepare for something like this? Okay, obviously one of the first things is get a gun. But if you're like a lot of people who really don't want to go out and shoot everybody, that gun isn't going to do much good except for maybe keeping them from shooting you. So how do you prepare? Well, number one, you got to think of some place to go, because you're not going to be able to stay where you are. Remember, innocent victims happen abundantly in war. They're called collateral damage. Now, if you don't want to be collateral damage, you need to get out of town. And if you're in a major city right now and you are not on the same side as the majority of that town, you need to get out of town now. You need to start looking at getting out of these major cities. Not just because of potential war, but because, face it, you're getting screwed over. So start thinking about this. Start thinking about where you're going to go. And as you do this, start thinking about how you prepare for it. Now, needless to say, a civil war is a very destructive situation. Guess what is going to get hit quick? Supplies. If you don't believe me, go ahead and take a rollback time 1 year ago. A little over a year ago when COVID came out and everybody started panicking. What happened? You went to the grocery stores and there was limited food items, limited toilet paper. Y'all remember the toilet paper scare? Well, Publius has a list of things that you need to start buying now. Every time you go shopping, pick up some of these items. Put them away. And when I say put them away, I don't mean just throw them on the back shelf. I mean get yourself some airtight containers. They're not expensive. And start storing these items. If nothing else, when all hell breaks loose, you will have supplies. So what should you get? Well, first and foremost, rolled oats. Rolled oats are great. Number one, that's oatmeal, folks. Add it to some boiling water, let it cook a little bit, add some milk, some sugar, there you go. If you're more of a sweet tooth, throw some fresh fruit in there, or a can of fruit on top of it, and there's your oatmeal breakfast. The second item, honey. Honey lasts forever. It's also another way of sweetening items. Honey is good for fighting bacteria in your stomach. This is a good product in itself. So you should be picking up, you go to the store, you pick up a bottle. If you pick up an extra bottle every time you go to the store, then when things do hit the fan, you've got a supply. Avocado oil. Why avocado oil? Well, either avocado oil or coconut oil, because they both have extremely long shelf lives. Avocado oil will add calories to what you're cooking. And adding calories is a way of keeping it going when you're in a survival situation. Another one that's a really great thing, alcohol. And I'm not just talking about a can of beer so that you can, guzzle it down. I'm talking alcohol, vodka, rum, whiskey, things like this. Get yourself the big bottles, get yourself the small bottles, get yourself a lot of alcohol. Why? Because alcohol has a number of values. It has medicinal values. It has antiseptic values. It cleans. It does all sorts of things. Why? Because that's just what it is. And beyond that, that's a great item for barter. Especially if you got the those little shot bottles that they give out on the planes and such. You can pick those up at your local store. Buy a bunch of them. Buy hundreds of them over the year. The more of those you have, that's like having liquid money. Another great one to have is apple cider vinegar. Again, long shelf life, but apple cider vinegar also is a cleaner. You can clean surfaces with it. It will help you. It's also supposed to be pretty good to help fight high blood pressure, but I'm not positive about that. Another item you can pick up every time you go to the store is some powdered milk. Along with powdered milk, non-dairy creamer. Both of these items, if they are put into an airtight container, will last almost forever. Next thing on your list, canned meat. I mean, we all know spam. Hey, spam will last forever. We don't know how long that stuff will last. Well, a lot of the other canned meats will last almost as long. So you have a variety of canned meats. And what makes these meats perfect is they're already cooked. You could open up a can and just munch out. These things can be cut up, mixed in with other items, and you have a full meal. Now, if you're into protein powder, that's another one you can get. You can make protein shakes. I'm not a big fan of protein shakes, but hey, that you don't have to be me. Going on. Especially, well, if you take that protein powder and you mix a little bit of protein powdered milk into it, add a little bit of fruit, blend that up, you got a protein shake. It's probably not that bad in that form. But now we can go on. Number one, next thing on the list, water filters. I know, you're sitting back going, hey, water's everywhere. Yeah, but not all water's clean. There's a lot of bacteria, protozoa, and all these other little things in there that if they get inside you, they're going to make you unhappy. You're going to get Montezuma's revenge like you would not believe. And being sick in a survival situation can be deadly. So get yourself something to filter your water. Now, I know you can go out and you can buy a simple one-bottle filter system. You fill it with water, and as you drink it, it goes through the filter, and you're fine. This is okay. I prefer things that can do more than just one swallow at a time. I want to be able to filter large quantities, and you can get basically a jerry can filterization system for relatively cheap. The point is to get a way to clean your water. Next, you have the big three: beans, rice, and pasta. All three of these items, if they are kept in an airtight container, have almost an indefinite shelf life. They'll definitely help you survive through the bad times. And what makes these items great, along with the next item, is they add basically, those are your starch, those are your proteins, those are your fibers, those are the things that are going to fill you up. A big bowl of pasta with a little bit of sauce, and you're cooking with gasoline here, folks. You got a meal. And it ain't hard to make a sauce from scratch. You can take a couple tomatoes, crush them down, cook them slowly with some seasonings throughout the day. When you're ready to eat, you make up your pasta, there you go. Rice can be used in so many ways. And it's just like the beans. And also, hey, you can take those beans and mix them in with your rice, and there you go again. Okay, potato flakes. Potato flakes, just like the last three things on the list, these are things that last forever if they're stored in an airtight container. And potato flakes, if you didn't know, that makes mashed potatoes. Potato flakes can also be used to make a bread. Potato bread. The point is, you got options there. And on the subject of breads, you can do flour. Again, put it in an airtight container. Add a little bit of oil and some other ingredients, and you've got bread. You got dough. All you got to do is bake it. You can bake it by putting it in a cast iron skillet with a lid, covering that with coals, and there you go. Seasonings are another one I recommend you pick up. You got them. McCormick's is one brand, and theirs usually in jars, and they seal, and you put them all. Take them and put them into a nice airtight tote, and you've got seasonings to last you a long time. Same thing with vitamins. You want some vitamins to help supplement what you're no longer being able to eat. By having enough vitamin supplements, then you are going to get the nutritional value you need. Now, I mentioned avocado oil. Okay, clarified butter. It has a long shelf life, and unlike regular butter, you don't have to put it in the fridge. Going on, jerky. Jerky will last forever, and it's already done. You just pull it out of the bag and munch out. Coffee. Coffee, if you didn't know it, will last almost indefinitely. The most that happens is it starts getting a little bit of a bland flavor after a while. But we're talking years down the line. Other things you can pick up, batteries. Now, I recommend getting rechargeable batteries and a battery charging system. They're not that expensive. You can get them over there on Amazon relatively cheap. Put them up. You can get 32, 64, 100 batteries if you want, whatever you want. And if you've been smart and you've listened to what Publius has had to say, you've already gotten yourself a solar powered generator, so that during the day you can recharge your batteries and you will never be without. Other things you can pick up: peanut butter. If you're not allergic to nuts, great item. Shelf life is usually about 2 to 3 years. Add a little jam to that, you got PB&J. That's definitely an old-time favorite. You can get cans of soup or chili. If you go to Costco or Sam's or any of the big bulk item stores, you can find them in packs of like 8 packs. Pick up an 8-pack, put it up. And most of these things are things you should be picking up every time you go to the store. Pick up an extra bag. Pick up a bag. Pick up a bag. Pick up a box. Put them up. Why? Because then you've got supplies. Along with your super chili, fruits and vegetables. It's another one. And you pick up the fruits, you can add it to your cereal in the morning. You can have it as a dessert. You can mix it into a dough, and then you have like a dessert. All of these things have long shelf lives because they're canned or bottled. You don't want to get things that are wrapped in paper because that's not going to last. These new paper containers are great for short-term storage, but they're not going to help you what you're doing. Toilet paper. Every time you go to the store now, you should be buying an extra pack of toilet paper. Now, I recommend you go to those bulk stores and you buy those big boxes of rolls. Why? Because there's a lot of toilet paper on a roll. You get 5 or 6 of these boxes put up and you've got toilet paper for a year or longer. Sugar and flour both can be put into airtight containers and last. With just these things, you're going to have basic supplies. You're going to have the basic needs to be able to eat until you can supplement it. Now, how are you going to supplement it? Well, one of the things you should be putting away right now are seeds so that you can grow your own vegetables, possibly grow your own fruits. Hey, growing watermelon is easy. Grow yourself some watermelon, crack that open when they're ripe. You've got a nice dessert. Seeds will help you get through. Now, in the very beginning, I told you go out and get a gun. Yep. Why? Because you can go hunting. Because I know if you're a tree hugger, you don't like the idea of killing the warm, fuzzy things out there. But those warm, fuzzy things are going to provide you with nutrition. They're going to provide you with protein. They're going to help you live. So whack that deer. Then you also get to have that deer's fur. And you can tan that hide, and then you have additional ways to make clothing and to keep warm, if nothing else. The point is, folks, you need to start thinking about this as a possibility and start preparing in advance. You don't want to wait till after, both sides are starting to arm up and everything looks like it's going to break any day. It's too late then to go, because we all know what happens then. It's called there's a run on the stores and there ain't crap in the stores anymore. And even worse, not only is there no crap, there's no crap paper, so you're really screwed. Shop in advance. You saw this with COVID. Prepare now, because you never know what the next emergency will bring you. Get yourself some supplies, get yourself some stuff set up, and while you're at it, start thinking where you'd like to go. Look around where you live on the map and find a piece of wilderness, a wild area. I don't care if it's a state park or a national park. Just make sure you know where you're going to go. And if you do know where you're going to go, start prepping. Figure out how you're going to move your supply of food and other items up there. A trailer. Well, that means you need to either buy or make a trailer. And, of course, if you're driving one of these little wind-up cars, you're not going to be pulling much in your trailer. So you need to think. You need to work things out. Start thinking now before you become a victim. Because when the Civil War hits, no one's going to give a shit that you're starving. Society is not going to help you anymore. You're not going to have the food bank. You're not going to have food stamps. Why? Because the government's fighting. There's going to be no money coming in. You're not going to have a job and an income. You need to start prepping in advance. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're going to put your money in the bank, you're stupid. Get your money out of that bank. Put it in cryptocurrencies. Put it in gold. Put it in silver. Why? Because then, unless the whole world goes down, cryptocurrencies will still be there. And then you can buy and sell using crypto. By crypto, I mean Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all these other forms of cryptocurrencies that are out there. Money that is not regulated and controlled by the federal government. It's not backed by the federal government. It's there. It exists. Hey, I got Bitcoin. The smart thing to do is start prepping now. Currencies that can't be controlled by your government. And gold and silver will always have value. So yeah, buy gold, buy silver, put it up, get ready, start thinking. The more you think about it, the better you're going to be prepared. And when we're talking about basically the end of the world as we know it, I'd rather be prepared than be dead. All right, that was Publius. I am Publius, and this is today's edition of Countdown to Armageddon, where we actually are talking about what happens when Armageddon hits. So, if you like this show, hit that like button, hit that share, subscribe, and let me know what you had to think. Remember, you can support this by doing any one of the things listed in the comment section or going through this channel. Thank you all, and you guys have a great day.